So, welcome to another episode of LightingBot. We have rebranding to LightingBot, as you see on top right. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we will be talking to Aditya Hora, who has worked on a couple of Lego products and projects. Before we start, I just want to remind you to like and subscribe. It helps with bringing on more people while we are doing a live session, and also show support for me and Aditya, also who's spending time to share some knowledge and information with you. So before we continue, we will show his showreel from 2017. We'll watch it, and then I'll get him back in, and we'll talk a little bit about his journey so far. So stay tuned. This was going to be an interesting interview, definitely. All right, so here we have Aditya as well. You might see him having two screens because one that's because one is his camera and one is for the sound. So we apologize for that. So we'll talk a little bit about his beginning. What the video you guys saw now was the start of his journey, basically. So that's obviously not where he is right now, but it gives you an understanding of where he was. The video we just looked at, it gives you an understanding of where he started. So let's now ask Aditya a little bit about his journey so far, because he studied at I believe he took a bachelor in animation originally.
I studied in Manipal. I studied animation there. Of course, let's start off with the introduction. Hey guys, this is Aditya. I'm a lighting artist. I'm a lighting TD in ReDefine Studios. I started off with bachelor's in animation in Manipal University. And the showreel you just saw was all my college work, where I specialized in lighting mostly. The program had everything in it: modeling, texturing, lighting, making, the whole thing. But I decided to pursue lighting as a specialization. So where did it all begin? Should I start off with my showreel?
Yep, you can start off with explaining a little bit about your time and during the university. Like, what did you learn? What helped you decide lighting is probably a good idea to talk a little bit about, because there's a lot of choices when you're a student. What made you decide specifically that, okay, I'm gonna go towards the lighting path?
Okay. So I'll be honest, I wanted to start off with modeling because during the first few semesters, it was modeling. First of all, it started off with traditional animation. So we had to draw. We had these line drawings that we had to do and compose it in Photoshop, make a small video of it, and that was that was a lot of work, and I'm not that great at drawing, so that was a big no. But modeling came in, and that was super fun. It felt like clay modeling kind of deal, and yeah, I think around like the fourth or fifth model that I made of, I think, a kangaroo or something, I decided that yes, I shall go for modeling. But it seems that modeling requires a lot of accuracy and stuff, because in later stages of the same, it it need the like mesh flows and stuff had to be very accurate, so that there are no issues with rigging, and there will be no issues with texturing, stuff like that. So again, that became a no. uh, then I was introduced to lighting, and my professor actually showed his ideas, his what do you call it? He showed me a bunch of images. If I can share my screen.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
Let's see. You have to click share.
mhm. Yes. And then
There you go.
here my screen. Yeah. So he started off with just these images that helped me understand that lighting tells a story. It's just a single image, but it helps with directing the viewer's attention to detail, like stuff like gobos and things. These are just some random renders of his, I feel. Yeah. So again, this tells its own kind of story. It has its own feel to it. It makes it interesting. The play with shadows and stuff. I guess if you just make this, if you just remove all the lighting in this image, this image really won't make sense. But lighting itself gives it its own feel. Again, this is a render. Yeah, these are different versions of portrait lighting. Yeah, see again, this image tells a story about how lighting plays a really good role. Lighting, like, yeah. So this helped me out. This pushed me towards lighting,
Okay.
and yeah,
So you were
yeah,
influenced by your professor
I was
to kind
influenced
of
by
you were inspired,
get
let's
it,
say you were inspired by your
inspired
professor to go
to
into
go
light.
ahead and
Okay.
get into lighting.
So when did you pick up the lighting during your student years? Did you start focusing on that, or did you start like in internship or something instead as a trainee?
Um, and what happened was I went through with the course. It was a 3-year course, but lighting was in the second year, and I started with whatever work I had in texturing, I took it into lighting. I made it into better composition and stuff like that. And yeah, so I got a lot of help from my professors. And right at the end of second year, I was pushed into a studio, which where I was a trainee lighting artist. And uh, I started with some short production. It's pretty basic stuff. And having a decent knowledge in Python and just basic scripting and stuff, that also helped out, because what we learned in college was just basic stuff like what is Maya, how do you navigate around Maya, what what are the different tools in Maya,
How do you
what you
make
can
a
do with,
box?
how do you make a box, yeah, how do you start off with a box. uh, yeah, and when I got into the studio, there were so many tools, so many different softwares being used, so many different plugins. Um, I believe Redshift was the first plugin that I was introduced to. Redshift is a lighting rendering software for Maya. It has its own shaders and its own lighting setup and stuff. And I had no idea what that was. One of my first shots that I got, it was a done shot. Someone had already done it, and I had to recreate it. And I had no idea what any of it was. There were these AOVs and mat passes, and everything just went way over my head. But some colleagues sat, they showed me stuff, showed me how to do things. Um, they explained compositing in Nuke, I believe. Yeah, Nuke. Um, because I did compositing in Photoshop, but that was pretty basic stuff. Just putting layers in Photoshop, changing blend modes, and that's it. You're done. But Nuke was mostly for production, so it was you could put in like multiple AOV passes. If no one is people aren't don't know what AOVs are, they're just different what do you call it? Like reflection pass or a lighting pass, a basic color pass. And they showed me how to combine it in Nuke, and it gave a pretty cool result, and that completely blew my mind. What? Because Maya, you had to, if you're just gonna render it out in Maya, you had to tweak things. You had to make adjustments in the light, make it less specular, more specular, etc. But here in once you're done with rendering and you put it in Nuke, you can change it in Nuke itself. And yeah, so once I got a hang of that, I started getting more shots, more uh, work regarding Lego stuff. Actually, the first project I got into was Lego, and if you want to play that Lego Showreel, Lego Reel. Uh,
Boy, tastes good.
yeah, so those were some shots I did for Lego NinjaGo. Um, I was responsible for. Okay, so I could just play it back. Share screen. So I was responsible for lighting the city, making sure these street lights interacted uh, with the vehicles, made sure these sparks had a bit of light there, the headlights of the car. Here there was a lot of FX playing around, so I had to make an interaction pass kind of deal. And what else? If you see these reflections on the glass, reflections on the floor, speculars, stuff like that. So that's what I started off with. It was, yeah, you can see the light, the lamps and stuff as they go across. You can see the speculars of all the lights going on there.
So this was
Fun.
part of the passes you were talking about?
Yes, yes, this was part of the passes. We had different passes for the like street lamps, the bike lights, the characters, these little sparks that you see. Everything was put separately and it was all combined in Nuke. And if it was just done in Maya, I guess I don't think it would have worked out because Maya has its own, you know, you render out stuff in Maya and you get like a single look. But in Nuke you can like add defocus. You can make these what you call it, lens flares, lens distortions. You can place one object above the other object, stuff like that. And yes, so this was during my short lighting phase, and this is part of the season 8 of Ninjago, which was uh, which was one of my first Lego projects that I worked.
Okay. And so what did you learn then? And did you learn anything that you think is more relevant to like direct lighting? Because you started meddling with the Unreal Engine as well, right?
So Unreal Engine is quite recent actually. This during these short lighting phases, I didn't have much authority over like creative authority because it had to be exactly as like how the client wanted it or how my lead was supposed to how my lead wanted it. But as I moved forward, as I went ahead, I got the opportunity to do set lighting or key shot lighting. So all these shots that you saw, they were secondary shots. Like there's something like a master shot, then there's a child shot. So whatever the master shot looks like, the child shots have to look the same. And all these were child shots, and I got the opportunity to work on master shots. I can find that again. So these were some of my master shots. A little low res quality because I wasn't able to.
Yeah.
I
Let's have
wasn't.
a look.
Yeah, I did not have access to get all those files back. And yeah, but I was responsible for making sure the entire sequence looks like this. So whatever dragon you see, whatever the little saddle on top of him is, I made sure that dragon scale looks like a dragon scale. That the saddle looks golden, and yeah, the overall look and feel mostly.
So how does it work? You get like you use the master shots, and then you have to depend on the master shots for the whole sequence. So you use that as a as a
Reference.
reference. Okay.
Yes, yes. So it worked like we would have we would make sure one shot is approved, one shot is like ready to go, and it would usually be like a wide angle of the entire area where all the other shots will be. So it would be so that any other shot in the same area would match with this or would match overall.
So you're talking about color, tone, everything
Color
should be like
tones,
matching. Okay.
yeah, color tones, the way the lighting hits the character,
Intensity, value.
intensity values, etc. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
This was one of my favorite sequences. It was just a sunset. It was water over a sunset.
Yeah, sunset is always a popular choice.
This was a this was called the Spinjitsu Monastery. It was above the clouds, so there was no gogo, no this one.
Okay.
And I was, yeah, again for this I was responsible for making sure stuff looks like how it's supposed to look. Like this tree is supposed to look like a tree. The rocks, the golden bit over there.
So when you say stuff needs to look like they're supposed to look, are you talking about not just lighting wise? Are you talking about material properties as well?
Materials as well. Yes, it's material properties as well. So that's what I feel look dev is. Look dev is should go hand in hand with shading as well as lighting. Like because they go hand in hand.
Okay.
Of course,
So
if I
what
go
would
back
what would you say the difference is?
between
Would you say as a lighting artist that you do uh, before or maybe now? Would you say you do as much look dev type of work, or would you say it's less?
um okay, well right now I'm into uh I'm a lighting TD. So what a lighting TD does mostly is make sure the pipeline everything works smoothly. You know, if there's an FX integration or something, it comes in a proper format that we can use, we can utilize fully, we can give an interaction for the next department. But yeah, this doing look development in eccentric studios for this Lego project, it helped me out. It showed me how materials do work and how the model is supposed to be proper, as I mentioned earlier. How the textures help out. How
You have
yeah,
a compliment on the
yeah.
screen.
Thanks, Ijaz.
So let's look at the other showreel you have, which was a bit later, right?
Yes. So the you sharing that?
Yeah, I can look. I can launch it on my side.
All right. So yeah. So by the time I reached this phase, I was setting up pipelines. Second project that you saw, that was Butterbeans Cafe. Um, for that one, I like set up the complete pipeline because the requirement from the client was 3-point lighting for every single character. So we had to like parent these little light rigs to each character and made sure that light rig affected only that one character. And that plus the lighting of the environment that had to affect them. And the first project that you saw, which was uh,
You can share your
which,
screen and you can slide through the video and you can
yeah,
kind of use your pointer and explain the 3-point lighting and stuff like that as well.
screen. So for this project, again, I was responsible for the key lighting or master shot lighting, as well as setting up the pipeline like a basic how AOVs are gonna work out, cut mats, extra passes. Like this channel was supposed to have a little influence on the character and on the background as well. So it was a different challenge. It was a different what do you call it? Yeah, this challenge itself. But yeah, so I helped set up the pipeline for this as well as this project way at the end. So if you see this shot with all the characters, yeah. So each character has its own 3-point lighting. It has a rim light, it has its fills, it has its key light, and plus it has the influence of the background on the characters. And yeah, this project wasn't like regular projects because each character had to have its own 3-point lighting. Because it was supposed to be like a cute little project. So, you know, every character had to be highlighted, things like that.
How about
It was fun working with.
how about the van though? Did that also have
Yes,
any?
yes. Each character vehicle, everything was a separate element, and you can see this guy also had its own little. It has its rim lights over here, and it has its key coming in from this side. Now again, this guy had its own separate pass. It has little, if you see it, if you can see a little bit of light inside the van itself, a little bit of
Right.
van light, I guess.
Hmm.
So yeah, 3-point lighting plus extra lights plus the light of the environment had to be implemented in this project.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So
So what did you learn then compared to the first time you did it, and then by the time you did this, like, um, what did
back
you
when
end
I
up
was
with?
doing this project, this project was pretty straightforward. You know, if you can see how the lighting of the character is it's not exactly 3-point lighting. It's just straight up the environment light plus this interaction light. And yeah, this was a pretty cool shot. Again, here you can see the light of the environment. You can see the sunlight hitting the character directly. And there's not much of 3-point light as such. It's just how the environment would have reacted with the character if the character is actually standing.
So there's not a lot of extra lighting normally. It's not
There's
like.
not a lot of extra lighting. Yeah, it's straightforward. So this setting of the pipeline for this was pretty straightforward. But again, for this guy, it was a bit of a challenge. It was
So
each character had its own little thing.
so what advice would you give to someone from like when you were a student and then you did like the trainee part and then you did a little bit of the compositing, learning that, and then eventually you went over to the Buttercup, where you did a bit more type of lighting.
A lot of artists are honestly afraid to do stuff. You know, they're afraid to act. You know, explore ahead. But I'd say just go for it. Click buttons. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Save that file. Just click that button, man. Got, gotta explore more, or you're not gonna get ahead. You're gonna just get stuck doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Right.
Because if I had not like dwelled into, because I got into pipeline because I messed around with a lot of scripts that were already there, and I just picked up the script, looked at what's going on, and there was a point where I think the lead IT guy, the lead scripting guy was not available, and there was a problem with the scripts. And I jumped in and I fixed it, and that's when it all turned around. That's when people started noticing that yes, this guy can do stuff other than just lighting.
Yeah, so you would say take initiative and solve problems.
Take initiative,
Yeah.
solve problems, figuring out stuff on your own. Of course, you shouldn't like just get stuck with the problem and stay with it for days and days. If you have an issue, do bring it up with people. But always try to take initiative, you know, do stuff on your own. It always helps.
That's good.
So
You have another compliment coming up on your screen.
yeah, Nishant was my junior in college as well as Eccentric Studios.
Oh, really? Wow. He's paying attention to what you're saying. I think that's good so far. I think so. What are you doing at ReDefine right now? As you're just fixing the pipeline, and so that means are there other lighting artists that you are helping do their lighting, or are you still also doing the lighting plus the technical art?
Okay, so what's going on in ReDefine right now? As I'm getting the opportunity to work on live action projects, which is completely different from CG lighting. When I did get into ReDefine, I was given the role of just purely integrating VFX into the project, and I don't think that movie's out yet, so I cannot give that name. But it was a fun experience because again, since I moved from companies, ReDefine had a completely different pipeline. Uh, Zentrix was using Windows. Here we're using Linux. We're using a different software called Claris because Claris has a better file handling. It can handle a lot of meshes and stuff. If you have like a full forest kind of scene, Maya will have a lot of trouble trying to handle it.
Okay.
But
So you
we'll
had to
have to, like-
learn new technologies and softwares too.
I had to learn new softwares. But
And how did you do that? On your own
yeah,
time?
I did it on my own. I did not have much of training because by the time I got into this company, this whole COVID situation started and work from home started. So I did not get the training I was supposed to. But again, I took my own initiatives. I tried my own things. Of course, I had the little backlash from seniors saying, "What are you doing? Why are you not getting work done on time and stuff?" But it helped in the long run because I understood more things than a lot of other artists. And yeah, I do feel I have gone way ahead. And I'm actually now helping a bunch of artists with their work whenever I'm not burdened with the same. But
That's good.
yeah, so once I got into this company, it started off with regular short production. But when they realized I can do more than what I have signed up for, I was given like I handled an entire project's FX integration into Lighting. Again, through scripts via the pipeline tools, things like that. And
So
I
if
made my own versions of the scripts, so it helped me only. Yeah.
So
You're
that's
saying?
that's how you became. So I noticed from the beginning of this interview that you,
Mhm.
because you got into scripting a bit early, that has helped
Yeah.
you go towards this direction. So if someone was to follow your path to like do this cartoon stuff, animation stuff, and then over to live action, what would you recommend they learn in terms of practical skills and technical skills?
Okay, so if you want to, if you really want to, okay, so there are two, three things that you can do at the position I'm at. You can get into like the creative side or like a technical side. For the creative side, you need to have a decent color theory, a good understanding of how which light goes well with which light, like complementary colors and things like that. I was not that great at it, but I was good at the technical side, which gave me a boost in the technical department, hence lighting TD. So again, now if you want to get in the creative side, you can start off with basic concept arts, basic drawings, things like that, understanding how colors work. And if you want to get into technical, which I'm doing, you got to learn Python scripting, which is, it's becoming more and more convenient these days. And yeah, having a fair knowledge in scripting should help out.
Okay. Um, just a reminder, if anyone has any question of your own or if you need some guidance, you are free to ask questions as well. Um, before we change the topic a little bit, actually, let's talk about it a little bit as well while we have the time. So we're gonna talk a little bit about India and the work market in India and the pay in India, the work hours in India. So, what's your experience compared now? We're not looking down at the companies you worked at. We're not commenting them
Of
on them specifically. We're
course not.
talking about the culture and the environment of India itself. So that's a disclaimer if anyone who is watching and they happen to work at ReDefine or any of the other studios you worked at. So we're just exploring the differences. So before we jump over to that topic, I will interrupt ourselves in the process just to make things difficult for you to multitask two conversations, but also to pull up questions. So we have a question from Kevin Nelly, and that's what was the most useful lighting tool or trick that you created with Python?
Okay, so I'm doing Python in ReDefine right now, and most of it is related to pipeline itself. So it's just basic lighting integration or bringing in light rigs or bringing in what do you call it, packages of animated packages or characters stuff. But back when I was actively making tools, it was in Mel, which is Maya embedded language, which is the scripting base scripting language of Maya itself. Um, One of the most useful lighting tools that I made was this foreground background splitting character thingy, uh, because we were facing issues with edge lines. If there are like 5, 6 characters, the characters way at the back had to be defocused. And if all those characters were provided in a single layer, it would cause these weird jagged edges between the characters, and it did not look good. It kept getting sent back by the clients. So I came up with a tool that split the characters. You would select which character was, say, in the foreground or in the background, and it would split the layers accordingly. And yeah, that helped out. Another lighting tool that I made was a render layer manager, because like we had a ton of layers in our in each scene file, each shot file, and when it became heavy handling all the files. So just doing a basic right click on a single layer, it would take so long. It would, and then the file would crash, things like that. But having things done via scripting is much faster, and Maya accepts that way faster than actually going via the UI of Maya. And yeah, that did help out. That helped out a lot in the projects. A lot of projects actually.
Cool. So, another topic, as I just mentioned, we're going to start talking a little bit about something that I think is important that people are aware of, is just the work environment, work hours that happens in different countries. So, because Aditya is in India, it's a good idea to be aware of the pay differences, the work hours versus, say, in Europe or any other countries. In case you want to move for a job or you're looking to move, you should be aware of the benefit and the disadvantage of it. So, Aditya, how would you say the working hours is? Is it normal to work like 8 hours, more than 8 hours, or how does that work according to your experience, but also according to what you hear from other people in India?
So when I did start off with as a short lighting artist, I was working for a decent 8 hours. It was time to time, log in, log out at proper hours. But depending on work crunches, if you know what that is, depending on when the client wanted their output, and if they had sent some stuff back, uh, we would have to stay extended hours, and mostly without pay, because that's how it that's how it worked. We didn't have much of overtime pay. We did have the opportunity to get overtime pays sometimes, but most of the time it was not an option. And work hours, they got worse as the as my role changed. Um, it got more and more intense.
So, when you
Uh,
say intense, do you mean amount of hours or amount of work needed to be done within the hours, or?
I'd say a little bit of both, because scripting is most of the time debugging stuff, and if there's an issue that comes up, I had to be there to fix it because it's my script. And but I usually end up staying way more than how much I signed up for. Um,
So
yeah,
that's basically
work
is the
hours.
case.
Work hours is an issue here. It's a big issue.
So how many hours would you say? Like you wake up what time and you would have to go home at what time in like worst case scenarios?
Worst case scenario, I'd stay in the studio
Oh,
overnight.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Is it because of like
Not
strict deadlines?
Yeah, just extremely tight deadlines. And not saying it was bad. It had its own. It was fun staying back in the studio. The entire studio is empty,
No,
but
of course
only
it
your
is.
team's
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I mean, of course, it's not bad, but there is also the part where we also want to address like normal work hours, having time for your family, your friends. That's kind of the key things there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, work-life balance is difficult in this field, I feel, because
Mm,
there's always going to be a crunch. There's always going to be a need for some extra work being done,
mm.
because it is a creative field, and it's not possible to have a finished product at the end of the day, because someone will have a different opinion, someone will have different idea or will want it to look different.
Yeah. Just a reminder, you can ask questions if you have any questions. I don't mind being interrupted and asking the questions. We are going into Discord in 15 minutes where you can talk to us as well, hang out, just have fun. Please like and subscribe the channel. It helps bring in more people and inform more people about the type of content that we make. And yeah, just like and subscribe and comment wherever you're listening so I know everything is actually still working. Um, so, Aditya, you were talking about long hours and everything, and what would you say um, is is a fair pay according to this type of lifestyle and work hours? Because we talked a little bit about your the Indian pay, and
Mhm.
we put it together. And do you want me to read it up, or do you want to try and say it yourself?
um, it's difficult to say because when I did start off, it was a pretty low pay. It was it was less. But if you don't mind, I won't be saying figures in on the live session.
Right,
I mean, I did tell you the figures, but I don't want to say it in the live
no
session.
problem.
Uh,
What I can say is a lot of people in India they work for much less than what we do in Europe and the US. And the reason we are talking about it is just to be aware of the fact that it has a negative impact as an industry, but as fellow creative artists. Because what happens is Aditya might get some freelancing work or a project in his country, and he will get 90% less pay, but he still does a lot of more work. He does a lot of hours, and he has to work overtime. He's tired. He doesn't have time for anything, and he still gets paid 90% less than I would. What happens then is the company grows revenue because the company still earns money in US dollars, European euro, and pounds. So they still get the revenue they need, and they don't have the same cost anymore, which is why we're talking about it, because it is both unfair for people who are in countries like India. They're getting paid very little. If I pay some people that I work with, say $40, that's already a lot of money for people in India to get that amount of dollars. Even $20 is a lot for a lot of Indians per hour. So that's why we're talking about it, to be aware of this, that there is a huge imbalance, and it affects people like me and my other people that I know. They do freelancing, and we lose a lot of projects because it goes to Indians, which is fine, but it's unfair, because then the big guy or the big woman on the top, they end up with a lot of money and no one gets a piece of the pie, because people like Aditya or people in India, they get not that much money for the work they do, and then people who are maybe more experienced or in a different time zone in Europe or US, they lose the project. So that's kind of why we're talking about this. But before we continue, I'll pick up some of the questions. Some of them we already kind of talked about, but I'll let Aditya address it. So you have from Fateh: do you do technical stuff for lighting only, or do you do tech stuff related to materials too, like stuff in Substance Designer?
okay. So I have just started off with lighting technical stuff. Um, I have tried to dwell into substance designer. I'm still learning. Everything is everything is still in the learning phase because there's always something new to learn. But yeah, I've always wanted to dwell out of lighting, technical wise, understand things other than just how to technically tackle lighting. Um, yeah, substance designer is something that I'm still learning. So I'm not can't say I'm doing much of technical stuff there.
Yeah, makes sense. Um, let's take this one from Kevin. What do you think are best ways to practice lighting skills? Do you have any favorite learning resources for lighting?
Okay. So I'm not that great at drawing, but if you do have like drawing skills. I am trying to learn. I got myself a screen tablet thing whenever I'm free, which is pretty rare, but
Same,
I
same.
do
I
I
know it.
do go ahead and try to, you know, it would usually just start off by blocking out a scene and drawing out probably a source of light, seeing how the light source would bounce off. Another source of inspiration I would say is Pinterest and ArtStation itself. Um, I just scroll through ArtStation if I've got a render going on. Scroll through ArtStation or Pinterest for rendered images or just photography, stuff like that. And if I do find something interesting, I just set up these basic blocking thingies, basic blocks in Maya, put down a bunch of lights here and there, and you know, play around, try to get the same output. So yeah, if you do feel, you know,
Cool.
if you want to learn more lighting, you just go ahead, place some lights,
Yeah,
play
definitely.
around.
Practice photography. I mean, I'm trying to pick up drawing, but I'm a bit lucky because my art director at work, he gives me some pointers and lessons and explains me stuff. So I'm a bit lucky with my art director. He's pretty helpful when it comes to those things.
That's good.
So yeah. Back to topic. How do you balance your work and fun time? Asked by Bavita.
Um, that's my mom.
Well, so that's
Asking some straight up questions.
that's his mother, everyone, and she's indirectly saying you need to have some fun, beta. All you do is work.
That is straight up. That is straight up that. Um,
That's funny,
you
dude. That's
you gotta give a day off. You gotta take a day off. You cannot be working all the time. Crunches are there. Work will go on, and the company will not stop without you. So if you do feel you're overworked, if you do feel that you know things are you yourself are being exhausted, mentally exhausted, day after day you're doing the same thing again and again. Take a day off, read a book, play a game, go for a walk. You know, don't just stick to don't just stick to work all the time.
that's that's a good question, Auntie. Thank you very much. uh, Fateh is saying it's actually the same in Pakistan because he's Pakistani. He also experienced that they pay nothing and then they get everything in return. So, how do you feel about your plans for the future? Are you sticking around in India to make your money, or are you looking to build your own business in the future, or do you maybe want to join doing some freelancing abroad and kind of expand in that area?
As of now, I want to learn more. So whatever, uh, gotcha. Whatever helps me learn more, whatever pushes me to understand more things. But yeah, my end goal is, well, I do want to get into the gaming industry, which is why I've started Unreal Engine.
Okay.
I do want to be a environment artist. I think that's what it's called. Set up an environment for a game,
Okay, so
possibly.
you will eventually transfer from lighting artist over to a type of not a level designer, but like a level artist.
Possibly,
Interesting,
because
interesting.
I have, I've read up a bunch of people who say that having a decent understanding of how pipelines and stuff work, having a decent background in scripting, it is a big advantage in the gaming industry, and it does help out. So
It's good.
yeah, that's all. So
So, do you have any final advices while people think about some questions that you might want to ask before we close the live sessions, and eventually we move over to Discord to kind of have a more informal hangout? Aditya, do you have anything you want to promote for yourself? Do you have anything you want to share or mention that we might have forgotten?
um, well, I don't have anything to promote as such, but if someone is starting off in this industry, um, don't be afraid to do stuff. Just keep trying, try new softwares, try new things, check out tutorials, check out other people who are doing the similar sessions like this. And other than just understanding softwares, um, you got to be able to communicate with other people as well. You got to be very strong with that, because people are going to help out if you do ask them. I mean, they may even get annoyed you asking them again and again and again.
So you
But
would say that there is a balance that is needed.
there is a balance that is needed. Yes.
Okay,
But
so that's definitely a good, useful advice. We are also just want to mention we have a website called lightingbot.com. You will find Aditya's recording there. You will also find previous people's recording there. You will find written interviews that are for people who are uncomfortable being on screen. They have an opportunity to do the written part as well. You might see Aditya again when we do a roundtables. I haven't asked him yet, but we're going to try and add more people to these kind of talks and kind of go different methods and different approach to kind of talk about different things. Aditya is also the first one I've had on the show that does more comes from a look dev and a Maya background and does animation and now live action. So definitely there's more to learn from him in the coming months. Hopefully he can come back after the movie comes out and we can do like another breakdown and talk as well. So stop by the website, do like, subscribe, and comment on our contents, especially YouTube. And you can join the Discord as well if you want to hang out and learn more. There will be a new interview next week. I haven't made a banner, unfortunately, just yet, but you can stay tuned. Subscribe at least on YouTube, and you'll pop up on your screen that the new interview the next week, and the week afterwards, and the week afterwards. And stop by lightingbot.com for the written interviews, which I don't always actually share or post. So you actually have to go in there and keep looking up on stuff. And Lightingbot as a community also offers mentorship. So if you want to improve yourself, you can always ask for it, and we can also find you a specific person. So if you do want, for example, Aditya, then I would persuade him to join, and he will teach you what he can. So don't worry, just stay in touch. So thank you for watching, and we will take like a 4 or 5 minute break, and we'll be in Discord just to kind of hang and be a bit casual. So thank you, Aditya, as well for taking the time
thank
to
you.
show up. I know
Thank
there's
you for
different
this.
time zone. So thank you for joining and thank you for showing up. And yeah, I appreciate it that you took the time to do it. Great work with the Lego stuff, really exciting. For people who missed some of the beginning, these are some of the earlier work that Aditya did that I am showing briefly on the screen. So he has done quite a lot of Lego, different Ninjago specifically, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And since we have a lot of viewers right now, we're gonna end with his showreel because you probably missed it. So before we leave, here you go. So there you go. That's some legit stuff that Aditya has been behind. So we'll see you on Discord. Thank you for watching, and let's wave goodbye. And have a nice day if you're not showing up. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.